Hello everyone. This is the continuation video on nuclear chemistry, and this is video 2. Before going to the applications of what do we call radioactivity, radioactive disintegration. So in the first video, what we discussed, the most importantly, we discussed uh, the meaning of radioactivity, cause of radioactivity, most importantly the characteristics of alpha, beta and gamma rays. And the next one, we also discussed radioactive disintegration law. Radioactive disintegration law. From this radioactive disintegration law, we defined what we call activity. We defined activity, and also we defined decay constant lambda, and all units of activity also we discussed, the very important thing. And we also discussed that is T half. Next to that, that is T average, T average, and the most importantly, the significance of T half while solving the problems. So what kind of relations frequently we use? That is significance, significance of T half, significance of T half, and also differences between decay constant and rate constant. So decay constant is used for radioactive disintegration reactions, and K, that is rate constant, that is used for chemical reactions. Along with this, we also discussed the difference between activity and rate of chemical reaction. Rate of chemical reaction we discussed, and all graphs, possible graphs we discussed on radioactive disintegration. And these are the things we discussed in the first video. And the remaining part in radioactive disintegration is there are two important applications. The first one is determination of age of earth, determination of age of minerals. We have a very important method for that, that is uranium lead method. And the next one is a determination of age of wooden articles. Determination of age of wooden articles. For that we have a very important method called carbon dating process. Carbon dating process. So these are the things we discussed in the first video. So without making any delay, let us continue the what do we call radioactive disintegration with applications. So here, the most importantly, the applications of radioactive disintegration, if you take, so here, the first one, determination of age of rocks, determination of age of rocks, or determination of age of minerals. And also one, two model questions we'll discuss, what is the data provided and how to use the data to solve the questions we'll discuss. So here, what exactly we are doing? What exactly we are doing? So age of rocks. For example, a rock sample is given, and by studying the composition of that rock sample, we can find the age of that rock. So age of that particular rock. So in order to determine the age of rock, we use a very important method called that is uranium lead method. Uranium lead method. And the what is the very important assumption we are making in this? For example, a rock sample is given. For example, a rock sample is given, and while finding the age of that particular rock, so here, whatever the lead present in this rock, whatever the lead present in this rock, that is assumed to be formed from uranium only. Uranium only. That is the important assumption we are making. In this method, the total lead is assumed to be obtained from uranium. In reality, it may not be correct, but while finding the age of the rock, it's an approximate method, and we are going to make an assumption. And in that assumption, we are assuming that we are assuming that that lead is totally obtained from uranium. And what is the reaction here? The reaction is uranium 92 235 isotope. It is radioactive. It undergoes disintegration, and during this disintegration, it gives a product nuclide that is lead 82 207. Lead 82 207, and 1 mole of uranium, 1 mole of this isotope will give 7 moles of alpha particle, dipositive ion of helium, and also 4 moles of beta particles. And this is the equation we are going to use while finding the age of the, what do we call, rock or mineral. Whenever a sample is given, we have to study the composition of that sample, and whatever the lead present in that sample, that is assumed to be obtained from uranium only. So this is the assumption we are making, and you can see the stoichiometry of this reaction. The stoichiometry, that is 1 mole of uranium is going to produce 1 mole of lead, 7 moles of alpha particles, and 4 moles of beta particles. And if you know what do we call the amount of uranium present in the sample, amount of lead, instead of lead, sometimes they may give helium data also. So we have to make use of that data to find the age of rock. And very clear, this is a radioactive disintegration reaction. You already know all radioactive disintegration reactions follow first order kinetics. So we are going to use the first order kinetics equation, integrated rate equation we are going to use. And as I told you, 1 mole of uranium produces 1 mole of lead, 7 moles of alpha particles. So alpha particles, sometimes instead of giving the mass of alpha particles, they may give the volume of helium under NTP conditions, and of course this is the reaction. And let us take the consideration. What is the consideration? So T is equal to 0. This is the 0 time, and here we are assuming that at this point of time the disintegration is started, and here this is the isotope, and this is the product nuclide, and alpha particle, and beta particles, right? And in the beginning there are n naught number of uranium isotopes, but in fact we don't know that. We need to find it. How many uranium 92 isotopes are present when that rock is produced, when that rock is formed, when that mineral is formed? How many uranium 92 235 isotopes are present? We don't know. In fact, if this is determined, we can find the age of that particular rock. Easily we can do. So, right, and this is the time period you are studying the composition of that rock. It may be, for example, today, and this is N naught is the number of uranium 92 to 35 isotopes 10 years before, 20 years before, 30 years before, whatever, right? And for example, this is the time period after which you are observing or you are studying the composition of that mineral. You are studying the composition of that rock. So that study revealed that uranium 92 to 235 isotopes are N. How many isotopes? N number of isotopes are present. Actually, in the beginning, how many were there? N naught. And after t time, after t prime time, N naught, n number of uranium 92 to 235 isotopes are remaining. And what is the difference? N naught minus N. What happened to that? That underwent a disintegration. According to the stoichiometric equation, 1 mole is going to produce 1 mole and 7 moles. And obviously, N naught minus N number of nucleides underwent disintegration. As a result, lead isotopes will be the same, that is N naught minus N. And you can see 1 mole of this is giving 7 moles. As a result, the number of alpha particles, the number of dipositive ion of heliums will be 7 times of N naught minus N. The main intention here, we need to find the time period, and if you can find N naught, and obviously we can easily find the time period, that is 0 to t prime, how much time it underwent disintegration. In fact, that is called the age of rock or age of mineral. And in problems, there may be two kind of situations. There may be two kind of situations. One is like what do we call the mass of uranium and the lead may be given. Otherwise, like a mass of uranium and the lead may be given. Otherwise, they may give the mass of uranium and the volume of what do we call alpha particles produced in that time period under NTP conditions. Otherwise, they may give non-NTP conditions. You can calculate under NTP conditions to find the number of moles. It's not a big task, right? So, if masses of uranium and lead are given, and how to find N naught, that is our discussion. For example, after T time, I told you already, when you are observing, when you are studying that mineral, and you are knowing that that particular mineral has X grams of uranium undecayed, X grams of uranium undecayed. But that when that mineral was produced, definitely the mass of uranium must be greater than X. But we don't know that, but we can find. And the mass of lead is given as Y grams. Actually, that rock was produced 20 years before, let's assume. At that time, how much amount of uranium was there, we don't know. But today you are doing some experiments, you are studying the composition of the particular mineral or rock, and the experiments revealed that uranium, amount of uranium is X grams and the amount of lead is Y grams. Before start of this, I already told you, I already cleared one point that, what is that? The total lead is obtained from uranium only. This is mass in grams, and the isotopic mass very clear 235, and in case of lead it is 207. So the number we need, right? The number we need. So N is equal to, so here this is the mass of that isotope, atomic mass. We are getting number of moles into this Avogadro number. You'll be getting the number of uranium atoms. And similarly, after T time, according to this consideration, the number of lead isotopes will be N naught minus N. The number of lead isotopes will be N naught minus N. What is this N naught minus N? Number of lead isotopes. So so that is equal to number of moles into Avogadro number. And the experimental data is saying that there is what we call Y grams of lead isotope, and obviously that is Y, the given what we call the experimental mass, that is the mass of lead in that mineral according to the experimental data, and the 207 is the atomic mass, gram atomic mass into Avogadro number. You'll be getting N naught minus N. But our requirement is N, right? N naught, right? Our requirement is N naught, and of course mathematically N naught can be written like this. N naught is equal to, so that is N naught minus N plus N. That means, so that what do we call, N gets cancelled, N gets cancelled, and you'll be getting N naught. So we are taking the summation of these two terms, N naught minus N plus N. N naught minus N is N naught minus N is Y by 207 into Avogadro number, plus N is X by 235 into Avogadro number, and Avogadro number is common, and of course the equation will be like this: N naught will be X by 235 plus Y by 207 into Avogadro number. So now I have the data like N naught and N. Now you have to use integrated rate equation to find. What is that integrated rate equation? Integrated rate equation, T is equal to 1 by lambda n ln n naught by n n naught value we are getting, n value already we have, lambda has to given, and whatever the time period you are calculating, that time is age of that rock, age of that mineral. Because after 10 years or 20 years you are observing, you are studying that particular rock, you are studying the composition. From the composition and decay constant, we are going to find T, and now this T is taken as age of that mineral or age of rock, right? This is one application, determination of age of rock or age of mineral. Procedure is same. Some they may create any new method instead of uranium lead, but the procedure 100% the procedure is the same. Whatever the information they may give, you have to make use of that information properly to find what we call age of rock, age of mineral. And another situation here, instead of lead, instead of mass of lead, they may give volume of helium at NTP, volume of helium. So after T time, so the mass of uranium is given as X grams, and the volume of helium liberated at NTP is V liters. V liters. Only thing is we need to find a N naught, and very clear. So N is equal to the mass of uranium isotope remaining by its atomic mass into Avogadro number. And obviously that is number of uranium isotopes remain undecayed, right? And if you observe the stoichiometric equation already have shown here, according to this, 1 mole of uranium is producing 7 moles of helium, right? 7 moles of helium. So 7 times of N naught minus N, but we have volume. Here we have mass, we have here mass was given, here volume is given. Under what conditions? NTP, you know, given volume, when it is divided with the 22.4, you'll be getting number of moles of helium. And if number of moles, if it is multiplied with Avogadro number, you'll be getting the total number of helium isotopes are alpha particles, not helium isotopes, alpha particles. That alpha particles, that number is numerically equal to 7 times of N naught minus N. And you just keep one point in your mind, what exactly we are trying to do. We are trying to find the N naught value, right? Right, N naught value we are finding. So send this 7 this time, this side. And of course, this will be like N naught minus N. The same thing we need to do. And in order to get the value of N naught, I'm taking the summation of these two, N naught minus N plus N, N naught minus N plus N, that is obviously equal to N naught, and N naught minus N means volume of alpha particles liberated in T time at NTP in liters. Obviously this is what we call number of moles, and we send this is 7 this side, and as it is I'm taking this, and Avogadro number is common. Na is Avogadro number, don't be confused. There is N naught term, N term, and Na is Avogadro number, and simply I'm putting this value and this value. As a result, this I'm going to get, and from that you can find N naught. Again, you can use that equation, T is equal to 1 by lambda ln N naught by N, N naught by N. So this is the first application, and after completion of this 1-2 questions also we'll try to discuss, and how the data is provided, how to use that data to find the age of rock. And let us take the next one, that is determination of age of fossil, age of wooden articles. So wooden articles, for example, at your home you may have any wooden article. If you can study what do we call, if you can know the composition of carbon C14 and C12 in that, easily we can find uh, when was that article made. Yes, whether it was made 10 years before or 20 years before or 30 years before, we can do that, and let us take the method, the procedure, how to calculate what do we call age of wooden articles. One simple method we have, that is radioactive carbon dating. Radioactive carbon dating. So what is this radioactive carbon dating, and what are the details? Let us take. So you know, in atmosphere and also in living beings, the ratio of carbon 14 to carbon 12 isotope is constant. So you may get a doubt how carbon is present. In atmosphere, carbon is present in the form of carbon dioxide, right? In living system, this carbon is present in the form of glucose or any carbohydrate. And here, uh, let me take one example like C6H12O6. And there is a possibility in this carbon dioxide or in this glucose that carbon may be either C14 or C12 isotope. But in atmosphere and living beings, not in what do we call dead animals, or not in dead bodies, right? So as long as it is having life, C14 to C12, this ratio is constant. How it is constant, let us see. And in fact, there are two important phenomena taking place in nature. One is N714. When it is bombarded by neutron, it is actually taking place in the upper part of the atmosphere. So nitrogen 714, when it is bombarded by, when it is hit by neutron, that will be converted to C614. And with the emission of what we call a protium isotope. And you can see in this process, carbon 614 isotope is being produced, right? And this carbon 614 is unstable. This carbon 614 is unstable. Here in the next video, we'll be discussing the factors affecting stability. There we'll be knowing neutron proton ratio, how it affects stability of the nucleus. But a carbon 614 is unstable, and this carbon 614 undergoes disintegration and it shows beta emission. As a result, what do we call C14 is consumed, C14 is produced. And if you carefully observe, these two are chain reactions. So here C14 is consumed here. Because of this integration, you are getting N14. N14, when it is hit by neutron, you are getting C14. C14 is unstable, it is undergoing beta emission. Because of these two reactions, so here, what do we call a C14? C14, the amount of C14 is constant. Of course, the C12 is, however, constant because it is not radioactive. It is not radioactive and it is not undergoing what do we call any disintegration. And the C14 is produced, C14 is consumed. Because of that, carbon 14, even though it is radioactive, so here its mass is constant. So straight, what do we call this carbon 14 may be in the form of carbon dioxide or it may be in the form of carbohydrate. And what is the process taking place here? If you see, atmosphere has carbon dioxide, it is C14 and C12. And when plants, living plant, you know, what do we call, for the preparation of carbohydrate, photosynthesis reaction, and plants absorb carbon dioxide. When they absorb carbon dioxide from atmosphere to living plant, what happened? Both carbon 14 and carbon 12 both are entering, and both are converted into carbohydrate. And that carbohydrate from living plant to living animal, it may be human being, right? So both are coming into what do we call a living plant or living animal. In fact, here this is in the form of carbohydrate. This is, I have written actually carbon dioxide, but it is in the form of carbohydrate. And we perform respiration, and during that respiration, carbohydrate undergoes combustion. And due to the combustion, you are getting carbon dioxide. And the same carbon dioxide and C14 containing carbon dioxide, C12 containing carbon dioxide, both are coming into the atmosphere. Like this, it may be in atmosphere, it may be in living plant, or it may be in living animal. The ratio of C14 to the ratio of C14 to C12 is constant. This is the logic behind the process. And now let us take what exactly carbon dating is. So, for example, as long as the plant or animal has life, this mass ratio is constant. But once the plant or animal is dead, it has no life. That means the physiological process will be stopped. So once once the animal or plant is dead, so what happened, that the physiological process will be stopped. That means there is no intake, there is no intake, right? And obviously here, what do we call, carbohydrate does not undergo combustion. So what I can say, carbon dioxide is not produced, and there is no intake, and also carbon dioxide, carbohydrate is not converted into carbon dioxide. And here, but the physiological process is stopped, but radioactive disintegration will take place continuously. For example, you just assume this is what do we call, a dead plant or a dead animal, whatever it has. Let us take a C6H12O6, the simplest carbohydrate I'm taking. C6H12O6, simplest means for the sake of understanding. And here there are two possibilities. One is C12, another one is C14, right? But here C14 undergoes disintegration continuously, even in a dead plant, even in a dead plant. That is a nuclear reaction, right? That is not a physiological reaction. So here what happened, even in dead plant or a dead animal, the decay of C14 will take place continuously. Because of that, C14, so here the mass of C14 gradually what happened, decreases. C14 undergoes disintegration. C14 undergoes disintegration. The mass of C14 gradually decreases, and we are talking about one ratio. What is that ratio? That is C14 by C12 ratio. C14 by C12 ratio we are talking about. So by using that C14 and C12 ratio, we are going to complete the calculation. So that is a C14 by C12, and C14 mass gradually decreases. Since the mass of C14 decreases, this ratio will obviously decrease. This ratio will decrease. Once the plant or animal is dead, then the ratio of C14 to C12 decreases, because there will be no intake, but decay of C14 continues. Decay of C14 continues. And finally, how to complete the calculation? Very simple. Again, since it is a first order, what do we call, kinetics disintegration reaction, he has to give what do we call a lambda of decay constant of C14. C14 isotope disintegration decay constant he has to give, and in this very clear, T is equal to 1 by lambda ln mass of C14 in living material by mass of C14 in a wooden article. So what does it mean? For example, so here this is the wooden article made, and in this wooden article, what is the mass of C14 you have to find. The mass of C14 you have to find. And there is what do we call, not a wooden article, living material. It may be, they may give mass of C14 in atmosphere, or they may give mass of C14 in a plant, whatever it may be. In case of a living plant or any living material, so any living material or living plant, they'll be giving what we call C14. But here C14, mass of C14 isotope will be provided in that question, and undoubtedly what we can say, this is wooden article, and this wooden article is made from a plant, what do we call, a wood tree, and in this, since there is no intake, the mass of C14 continuously decreases, and this is the living material C14 mass they'll be giving, and this is the wooden article C14 mass will be given, and in fact in this also we are expecting the same amount. In this wooden article also we are expecting the same amount, but this what do we call, this particular material was separated from plant T years before. It may be 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. So once it is separated from plant, what happened? It will not have any life. That is said to be a dead plant. Later, what do we call that? Dead plant is wood plant that is converted to wooden article. And but here, what happened due to the disintegration of C14? The C14 mass continuously decreases, and this is the expected amount, this is the amount found, and definitely this amount is less when compared to this. Why it is less means here radioactive disintegration is taking place continuously. How much time? T time. And this is actually called what we call age of that wooden article. So age of that wooden article T is equal to 1 by lambda. This is a decay constant of C14 isotope, and this is Ln, mass of C14 in living material by mass of C14 on wooden article. And instead of that we can take beta activity. C14 is showing radioactivity by emitting which particle? Beta particle, right? So that is called beta activity. Instead of mass ratio we can take a activity ratio. We can take beta activity of living material, beta activity of wooden article. And if I discuss one or two questions, it will be more clear to you how to use the data properly, how they give data uh, in examination, and how to use the data for solving the problems. Let us discuss. So here is a question. In this, an old piece of wood, the data is given like this. An old piece of wood has 25%, 25% as much C14 as ordinary wood today has. Old piece of wood, for example, at your home you may have any wooden article. In that C14, he's talking about a C14 mass, 25% as much C14 as ordinary wood today has. Ordinary wood, right? And find the age of wood, find the age of that old piece of wood. And he's also saying T half of C14 is 5760 years. It's a very simple question. Once if you have the clarity how the things are given, how to calculate, and it's only simplification thing. It's only simplification thing. First, let us find what do we call the given formula. The formula we are going to use is this, because it is the first order kinetics. Lambda is equal to 2.303 by T log activity of carbon C14 in live plant. That means this one, live plant, we have to take activity of C14 in a dead plant. Old piece of wood, so obviously, and that is made from a dead plant. And from this T, if you separate, actually, this is T half, right? This is T half. So you just bring this T this side and lambda this side. So T is equal to 2.303 by lambda. But you already know relation between T half and lambda. So lambda, in place of lambda I'm writing 0.693 by T half. What is the given T half? 5760. In fact, this one, this term, you should observe it clearly, this term. So here, this is lambda in the denominator, and that decay constant, in place of that decay constant, I'm writing 0.693 by T half, and the log, and this is activity of C14 in the live plant, and he has given clearly this is 25% of the old piece of wood. C14 is 25%, right? So obviously, the live plant, if it is 100, and in the old piece of wood it will be 25. So this is cancelled by 4 times. Log 4, log 4 is log 2 power 2, log 2 power 2 is 2 log 2, 2 log 2 is 0.6 approximately, and you can report your answer like what is the age of that old piece of wood? That is 11,485 years. If it is a wooden article, so according to the given data, that wooden article was made 11,485 years before. 11,485 years before. And one more question, let me take. So the C614 and the C612 ratio, C12 ratio in a piece of wood is 1 by 16th part that of atmosphere. I told you, right? So in case of atmosphere, the mass ratio is constant. in case of living beings also it is constant. But in the old piece of wood, C14 C12 ratio is 1 by 16, part that of atmosphere. And again, he has given what we call T half of C14, and he's asking what is the age of that wood. Again, the same logic. So this is carbon C14 in a live plant, and this is C14 in a what do we call a wooden article. So the same simplification, instead of giving what we call a decay constant, he has provided a what we call T half, and the T is equal to 2.303 by lambda log C14 of live plant by C14 of what we call a dead animal. C12 is the same in both the cases, because C12 it may be a live plant or dead plant, whatever it may be. C12 mass is the same, but the C14 is different, and the C14 mass in the dead plant or wooden article is less when compared to live plant or atmosphere. And the remaining thing is the same simplification. It goes into the numerator. Log 16 is log 4 power 2, log 4 power 2, and that can be written as 2 log 4, and log 4 is 0.6. And if you simplify, you'll be getting this. And this is about what we call applications of radioactive disintegration. And the two important applications, one is determination of age of rocks, and another one is the determination of age of wooden articles. And we have one more subtopic in this nuclear chemistry, that is factors affecting stability of the nucleus. Factors affecting stability of the nucleus. We'll be continuing that in one more video. Thank you very much.